Okay, so hello and welcome to CSD 2550. So if you're watching this, then you might be on CSD 2550, but you might also be on another module because there's a sort of process of merging two separate modules at the moment. So don't worry if you're not on CSD 2550, you're probably on in the right place if you're watching this set of lectures. So this lecture is the first in the series, and I'm going to introduce the course to you. Say a little bit about myself, the expectations that I've got from you and you've got from me, I hope. Going to go over very briefly the sorts of topics that are going to be covered in this course, how it's going to be taught, the resources that are available for you while you're studying the course, and how it's going to be assessed. So a little bit about me. So just a bit of background, really. So over the years, I've done some research on spiky neural networks and robotics, agent systems, the philosophy and science of consciousness, and tiny little bit on teaching methods. So in the medium to longer term, I'm planning to do research that's going to apply machine learning to data from the brain, trying to learn the relationship between what's going on in your brain and your behavior in the world. That's the idea. So this is some work I did on the modeling of spiky neural networks. I wrote some kind of fairly complex bit of software and did various kinds of experiments trying to build sort of biologically inspired neural networks, controlling virtual robots in this case. The first sort of proper research job I had was working on agent systems. I worked on this safeguard project where we built this kind of agent system that was trying to protect critical infrastructures, like telecommunications management networks and so on, against attacks, failures, and accidents. And I kind of like this whole idea of agent systems, so I've also done a couple of kind of arts-related projects in agent systems. So this is my MIDI agent system, where you've got sort of different tracks. So this is a method for live performance of algorithmic music. That's what this is for. So you have like the tracks here, and then you have different agents for specialized tasks, and then they sort of interact to produce the live algorithmic music. And then I came up with a sort of similar idea for producing live images. So you can sort of algorithmically generate images using the software by specifying how the different agents will interact to produce the image. So before I came to Middlesex, I was at the University of Sussex. Had this 3-year fellowship working on human and machine consciousness. And this is really my main area of research now. So I'm trying to understand the relationship between sort of first-person reports and measurements of brain data, and try and discover kind of mathematical relationships between these two things. And it also ties into the more general problem of how we can discover the relationship between what's going on in the brain and how the brain behaves and how we behave in the world. So I've done sort of a fair bit of philosophy on this in this area, and I'm sort of moving into a more experimental phase. And during my first year at Middlesex, I did this postgraduate certificate in higher education, and my project there was this kind of Neurolecturing idea. So there's lots of limitations of lectures, which is part of the reason I'm recording these lectures. But one of the limitations is you can't fine-tune the lecture material depending on the students' sort of knowledge or how well they're sort of understanding what you're saying to them, right? If you're doing a one-to-one tutorial, you can feed the information at the right pace, and there's like a feedback loop between student and lecturer, whereas on a bigger lecture, you can't do that. So the idea here was to use like EEG to record the brain states of the students, and then monitor their attention and maybe customize the lecture material in accordance with what you're measuring from their brains. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, it's all on my website, apart from the Neurolecturing stuff, for more information about research. So my main reason I'm telling you all this is that I'm happy to supervise projects based on these topics. So when you come to this is the second year course, at least CSD 2550 is a second year course. So when you come to the third year, you're going to have to do a sort of extended project, and you're going to have to find a supervisor. And so if any of this stuff seems interesting to you, then I'm more than happy to supervise projects based on this kind of stuff. So contact me if you'd like a list of project proposals. So in addition to my academic work, I did actually have about a year's worth of real commercial experience in the topics that I'm teaching on this course. So I worked for Trinity Mirror. And Trinity Mirror have, at least when I worked for them, they had maybe 150 odd regional newspapers like the Birmingham Post, the Liverpool Echo, and so on. And that's the area I worked on. And Trinity Mirror also owned the Mirror newspaper. So there was another group of people who worked on the Mirror newspaper. But my role was sort of working at the back end, producing the functionality, like with the databases and Java and Cold Fusion as it happened, that were generating the actual content that went on the page. So I did a lot of Cold Fusion, which I hated, I have to say, Java servlets, JavaScript, SOAP Ajax, and so on and so forth. So some of the material that I'm teaching in this course is kind of inspired by the work on Trinity Mirror. So if you need to get in touch with me, my name is Dr. Dave Gamez. That's my email address there. You can find me in room T112, which is the first floor of the Town Hall building. Now, I don't have any scheduled office hours. I've tried scheduled office hours in the past, and virtually no one turned up in them to start with. And occasionally I had to go out for staff meetings and so on. So in that case, people may have turned up, but obviously I couldn't forewarn everybody on the course. So that was a problem as well. And the other problem was that, when I was sitting in my office waiting for no one to turn up, I organized other meetings with other students. And so if anyone had turned up, they wouldn't have been able to see me anyway. So all in all, I think this scheduled office hour thing is a bit rubbish for myself, and it's a bit rubbish for the students. So I've got rid of that now. But I'm always more than happy to see students if you need to see me. So do feel free to email me if you'd like to discuss this course or have any kind of issues with your studies on this course. Always very happy to give you an appointment. I just think that's much easier for everyone if we have appointments rather than have scheduled office hours. Okay, expectations. So, what can you expect from me? I think it's good to set this stuff up in advance a little bit. So you can expect me to be professional and polite, right? I'm being paid to, teach you, so I'll be professional and polite in my interactions with you. I'll be available by appointment, as I explained, and I'll respond to emails within 2 working days in term time, okay? In term time, within 2 working days, I will get back to your email, okay? That does not mean over the weekend. If you send me an email on Friday, I might get back to it on Sunday, but most likely it'll be Monday at the earliest, okay? That's 2 working days. In fact, that's the next working day. I don't sit on the beach, checking my emails from Middlesex, so don't expect to get in touch with me over the summer within 2 working days, okay? It's not going to happen. I will mark your coursework within 15 working days. That's the aspiration, and I try to stick to that as much as possible, but sometimes I have enormous amounts of marking, and I can't always stick to that. But that's what you can hold me to account for, okay? I endeavor to provide relevant and clear course materials and exercises, and well-specified assessment tasks and marking criteria. So again, if you're not getting that from this course, you should come and see me and say, David, I'm not getting this from this course, can you sort it out? And I'll do my best to sort it out, okay? For all of this, you can hold me to account, and I expect you to hold me to account. This is what you can't expect from me. Okay, I find names really hard to remember. Last year I was teaching 160 students or something. I'm not good on names in the best of times, so don't be offended if I forget your name, okay? It's not personal, it's just not very good at it, okay? And even at the end of the year, in the labs that I teach, I might still forget your name, okay? And just, we just got to work with that, all right? If you forget my name, I won't be offended either. But you can get away with sir, right? Whereas I can't, it doesn't work in reverse. Student is a bit impersonal, right? Okay, so it's a broad course covering lots of technologies. So you're going to have to figure some things out for yourselves, okay? We've got lab sessions, we've got these lectures, we've got Q&A sessions. We're giving you as much support as we possibly can, but we can't teach you everything. Absolutely, we cannot teach you everything. So you're going to have to help each other. You're going to have to spend some time online figuring things out for yourself. So we're here to support your learning, but we can't teach you everything. And that's how it is with any course, right? You're kind of in a transition between sort of absorbing stuff, which is the kind of thing you do at school, and having to learn everything yourself, which is kind of more what you do at work. So that's what you can expect from me. Now, what do I expect from you? Well, I expect you to be professional and polite, right? Most of you are paying upwards of £9,000 for this, to study on this course, among other modules, obviously. So, this is a professional interaction, right? You're paying money to study. I'm being paid to teach you. Let's make this a professional and polite, friendly, right? But professional and polite. So during the Q&A sessions and the laboratory sessions, can you please put your phones, laptops, tablets, etc. on silent, okay? I don't really care if you're looking at your Facebook posts during the Q&A sessions, the laboratory session. That's you wasting your time, you wasting your money, that's your problem, okay? But please make sure they're silent. That's really important. Otherwise, you're going to distract other people who might be trying to learn. No inappropriate talking during Q&A sessions, okay? The Q&A sessions are there for you to come along, ask questions, or for everyone to benefit from the answers. And everyone can't benefit from the answers if they can't hear, or if it's impossible for me to think because everyone's talking. It's just not going to work, okay? So please, no inappropriate talking during Q&A sessions, and only relevant talk during laboratory sessions. So I enforce this pretty strictly in my laboratory sessions, and I hope that the rest of the teaching team does the same, okay? The laboratory sessions are there for everyone to, spend time in the lab, get support from the tutors, get support from each other. So I don't mind in the least if you talk to each other about PHP, MongoDB, and so on and so forth. But if other people are kind of talking about the latest football results or about, the exciting film they saw last Tuesday, then it's impossible for anyone to really focus on what the laboratory sessions are there for. So I don't care what you do, but I really care whether you disturb other people while you're doing it. If you're late, come in quietly. And please communicate with me about any issues that you're having with this course, okay? I'm trying to make this course as good as I can for you, but I can't do that if I don't know about the problems. So I totally encourage free and open communication. I won't be offended if you're having problems with this course or don't like parts of this course. I'd much rather hear about that than if you kept quiet and then just sort of, didn't get the most that you could have got out of it. So please talk to me if you're having any issues. Q&A sessions there. I'm more than happy to make an appointment to talk about any issues you've got. Then we can make the course better for you and better for the students who come after you. And for heaven's sake, do the coursework and hand it in on time. I'm going to stress this repeatedly, but you want to pass this course, you've got to hand the coursework in on time. Okay. So now I'm going to say a little bit about what we're going to teach here. So the aims of the course are to understand how to build the front and the back end of websites. And that involves databases. In this case, in this course, we're going to focus on MongoDB with the option of a second database if you do the third piece of coursework. I want you to have lots of practical experience developing websites. That's the core aim of this course. It's a practical course. I've thrown in a little bit of theory on security, privacy, and how commercial websites are run, but really, I want you to be able to build websites. That's the gain of it. I want you to get useful skills relevant to the commercial world and have fun, right? Maybe, you get hit by a bus, and that'll be it for you. If that's the case, hopefully not. All of this course won't have helped you get any kind of, future satisfying life in the commercial industry, right? But at least if you had some fun during this course, then you'll gain something, right? You may never become a commercial website developer, but at least have some fun while you're learning to be a commercial website developer. That's what I'm trying to say. And there's lots of fun stuff with website design. It's probably the most fun things you're going to do in programming. So what we're going to cover are website design, client-side technology, so HTML, CSS, JavaScript, JSON, and third-party libraries that you might use client-side, such as Bootstrap, jQuery, and so on. Going to look at server-side technologies, PHP, Node, JS, MongoDB. Also going to cover testing, security, privacy, legal issues, and commercial websites. And my clicker thing's not clicking. Okay, so what you're going to get out of this course are good understanding, I hope, as well as practical experience with client and server technologies. You can understand commercial website development. There'll be a lecture on that. You're going to understand how data is stored and retrieved from commercial websites, as well as less commercial ones, and also the security, privacy, and legal issues. As I said, this course is focused on practical technical skills. So you're going to get first-hand experience with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, JSON, PHP, Node.js, and databases. You're going to get practical hands-on experience with developing dynamic websites and the storage and retrieval of data. You're also going to get what's called more sort of transferable skills, soft skills, that kind of stuff. You're going to gain ability with communication. So the second piece of coursework is a group project. So you're going to have to work with people who've never, who have been, the groups are randomly allocated, right? So you're going to be put together in a team with people who you wouldn't necessarily choose to work with. And that's what's going to happen in the real world. So you're going to have to learn how to communicate with those people and to collaborate with those people. Otherwise, you're all going to lose out. You're all going to get a bad mark. So as I said, graduate skills, certainly the ability to develop commercial websites and the ability to design and execute an independent project. So the third piece of coursework is an independent project, which is mainly driven by yourselves. And so you're going to get some first-hand experience of managing an independent project, which is going to be helpful for you when you come to your third-year project. So the kind of jobs you can get based on the skills you're going to learn in this course are obviously a web developer, App developer, there's a lot of back-end stuff to apps. And so, mostly, and there's a lot of back-end stuff on this course, so it'll certainly help you if you want to become an app developer. But also, there's kind of other roles that are less technical, where what you're going to learn this course this course is going to help you. So, for example, there's a lot of people out there who do what's called technical recruitment, and a lot of jobs in the commercial IT world are recruited through, like headhunters they're called, or technical recruiters. And these are people. So the company will say to the technical recruiter, well, we need someone to do, a junior web developer, let's say. And then they've got the contacts, and then they'll sort of, send out lots of emails, blah, blah, blah. They'll do a first screening of the applicants, and then they'll pass the more promising applicants onto the company who actually do the interviews. And I've met a lot of these technical recruiters. There's a lot of them out there, and they make quite good money, right? You can make like 3 months of the person that you get, 3 months salary, right, of the person that you hire. That's how much you get paid typically as a technical recruiter. Now, if you want to be a good technical recruiter, you've got to understand the technology, right? Because you've got to do a good pre-screening of your applicants, get the right applicants to the right company, and then you're going to get the money. So this course is going to help you understand the technologies that you might use, that you might be recruiting for if you ended up as a technical recruiter. And the same goes for an IT manager. If you're managing a team of people developing IT, well, you're going to do a much better job of managing that team if you've got an understanding of the technologies. And again, this course is going to give you an understanding of these technologies. So I randomly selected, some sort of junior web developer jobs. I had a bit of a skim. These are completely illegible. But roughly, oh yeah, there we go. You can see some of these. So that's like London. It's like 26 grand. Well, 40 grand there, right? So in London, you'd probably be talking 25 to 35K starting salary for this kind of junior web developer job. Outside London, you're probably knocking 5 to 10 grand off that because the cost of living is a lot less, right? But there's plenty and plenty of jobs. Junior web developer using PHP, MongoDB. There's tons of JavaScript jobs around. HTML less so, but certainly some. So the kind of spectrum of skills you're going to get from this course is going to be very useful for getting in one of these junior web developer jobs. So next year, when you finish at Middlesex, graduated, you've thrown the hat in the air, you're going to be applying for jobs, right? And employers are going to be very interested in seeing examples of the work you've done, right? You're going to be in the job interview, or you're going to be writing on your CV. What can you do? Well, the best way of showing what you can do is give some examples, right? No one really believes you if you just write like a long list of complicated technical stuff, but got no way of proving it, okay? So they are going to test you in the interview with probably coding challenges or pointless, annoying questions about minutiae of Java that you never cared about anyway. But they will also be interested in seeing examples of work you've done. So on this course, you're going to do 3 bits of coursework. You're going to build a game website, you're going to build an e-commerce website, and you're going to build a single-page web application of some social networking, whatever you like. So all of this coursework can form part of your portfolio. So if I was applying for one of these junior web developer jobs, I'd probably put the websites I built on this course on a public URL, put those public URLs in my CV, and you could discuss them at interview as well. You can say, well, when I was at Middlesex, I worked in a team, randomly allocated team, producing an e-commerce website, and, we did the basket and all this kind of stuff, and, look at this amazing website. And that's going to get you a job, okay? So I strongly recommend you think in terms of a portfolio when you're studying on this course. Right, how this course is going to be taught. So in the first year, this course was taught with traditional 1-hour lectures. So, 100 students are there. I was, in front of the lecture hall. I gave these kinds of lectures. People fell asleep. People got bored. People checked their email. It was okay, but it had a lot of problems. One of the problems was that several laboratory sessions in the first year of the course were scheduled before the lectures, which really sucked, right? So I was trying to teach something in the lectures that could be applied in the laboratory sessions, which makes sense, right? You get the theory, then you apply it in practice. Unfortunately, people were sort of struggling to do laboratory sessions before the lectures, and it was a total nightmare for them. And then the lectures became completely pointless. The other problem is, second problem, is that students work at different pace, right? Some people really love this stuff and they just crack on with it really fast, whereas other students really struggle with it and take much longer, or are busy with another course or something like that, right? So some students work faster than the lectures, and then these students were like bored, hey, what next? And they just work their way ahead by themselves. and other students worked slower, and then they had to sort of work out, try and half remember what I said in the lecture, and then work through my slides. And I have a lot of slides, right? 100 slides is typical. So working through 100 slides to figure out what I was trying to say 3 weeks ago is no picnic, all right? So the faster students lost out, the slower students lost out as well. And in the second term, lecture attendance went like that, down to about 50%. The last lecture I gave, there were like 10 students present. It was like, well, you know, is this traditional lecture model really working? So I decided it isn't. So I'm now teaching this module using what's called the flipped classroom approach. So I introduced this on another module last year, and I was really, really pleased with it. So I now much prefer to teach in this way. So the idea is that I record the lectures in advance, as I'm doing now, and I make these lectures available online. And then you can access the lecture material whenever you need it, skip the parts that you know, and watch the lectures multiple times. And this frees up a lot more time for questions and discussion. We now have this Q&A session where you can actually ask questions about the lecture, you can have a discussion, I can run through the demos again, and so on and so forth. And this also enables me to teach the course in a slightly more flexible way as well. So all in all, I think this is much better for you guys in terms of how you study and learn from the course. So there's a couple of videos there, links to a couple of videos there. I'm not going to play them now, but I will play them in the Q&A session so you can talk through the flipped classroom approach in more detail. So the recorded lectures in the course are available on the course website and YouTube, as you've already discovered since you're watching one of them. And these will explain the technologies that you need to complete the coursework. So I'm going to have lectures on all the stuff, you know, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, MongoDB, and so on and so forth, okay? And I'm also going to provide additional information about web applications and databases. So there's a lecture on security, privacy, legal issues, for example, and there'll be a lecture on commercial websites. So the course is taught using these three things, right? We've got the recorded lectures, which I've just explained. Then each week there's going to be an hour Q&A session. So anyone in the course can turn up to the Q&A session, and on CSD 2550, since I'm the module leader for that, I'll be the one who'll be answering your questions at the Q&A session, unless I'm ill or have to go away for something. In general, it'll be me who you can meet and discuss and talk about the course at the Q&A session. And I can run through demos and so on and so forth. And then we've got the laboratory session, which is 2 hours per week. So as I said, the Q&A sessions, 1 hour each week. You can ask questions about lecture and coursework. More than happy to run through parts of the lecture and request. What I'm not going to do is just run through exactly the same lecture that I'm doing here, right? There's no point. Because these lectures are recorded in a way that if you were sitting in a lecture hall, you would see exactly what you're seeing now by watching YouTube or whatever you're watching on. So I'm happy to run through parts of the lecture, more than happy to go through demos, more than happy to go through code more slowly and all that. I think that's useful. I'm more than happy also to help give you some one-to-one support with coursework, but that will only work if there's only like 10, 20 people in the Q&A session. I've got 100 students in the Q&A session. I can't give every one of them support with the coursework, but what I can do, if 100 people are turning up regularly, is I can make a request for some extra staff. So we'll just play this one by ear, okay? Now that I've explained this is a practical course, so if you want to pass the course, I strongly recommend you come along to the laboratory sessions, okay? They're 2 hours every week, and there you'll be like 20 students, 15, 20 students, and there'll be a lab teacher, myself, or one of the other members of staff, and they're there, and we're there to kind of help you carry out the coursework and explain anything you don't understand. So the first half of the term, our laboratory exercises develop the key skills required to complete the coursework. So there'll be some lab exercises which you can choose to do or not do, depending on what you like, and we'll help you to do those laboratory exercises. And the second half of the term, the lab sessions are there to give you some support with your coursework. So the first part of the term, we're trying to give you the skills. Second part of the term, trying to help you finish your coursework. But obviously, you're going to need to spend your own time on your coursework as well. You've got like 20 hours of labs in the term, 22 hours. That's not enough to get a good mark on your coursework. You'll be very lucky to scrape by, you know, if you just spend the laboratory sessions. You've got to spend your own time on your coursework, or you're going to fail the course. So as I said, this is primarily a practical course, but so I strongly recommend everyone attends the lab sessions. The Q&A sessions are in no way mandatory. But obviously, if you don't understand the lectures or want detailed feedback and advice about your project, come along to them. You know, they're there for everyone. I welcome as many people come as need to use them. That's the purpose of them. Now, it's a requirement of Middlesex University that I monitor attendance. So they've got this electronic system. I have to put an electronic tick by every person's name for every one of the teaching sessions, okay? That's the rule, and I get chased up if I don't follow that rule. Don't necessarily agree with that, but that's how it is. I've just got to do that. So because this is a big hassle, I'm not going to, anyone who turns up more than 10 minutes late will not be recorded as present. If you want to be recorded as attending, don't show up 5 minutes before the end and say, please, sir, can I stick myself in? The answer will be no. So there's the sort of regulations on attendance. Now, the university has this attendance policy. So, you know, make of it what you will. So my view is I'm not going to penalize students for not attending unless I'm told to by the university, okay? So there are sort of forces at work within the university which I have no control over, and they may penalize you for not attending, but those aren't anything, but I'm not going to knock any marks off. What I give you marks for are for doing well in the coursework. That's it. Because, I mean, my last year at university, I didn't attend a single lecture, and I've never regretted it, okay? So I'm not going to force you to, within the means available to me, to attend. But as I said, the university has other stuff going on. One of the things the university has going on is that students from outside the EU need to demonstrate that they're full-time students. So university has this ability to issue, I think, Tier 4 visas, something like that. And that ability depends on its sort of monitoring and tracking of the students' attendance, essentially. So if you're from outside the EU, make sure you attend, you know, a few of your lectures within your module, or lab sessions within your modules each week, okay? Now, if you don't attend anything within any of your modules, it's highly likely you're going to be deregistered from the course, okay? This happened to someone last year, so please don't let it happen to you, okay? It's a bit of a nightmare. If you're having personal problems, issues with your studies and all that, then there's this deferral of assessment mechanism, which I'm going to explain in a later lecture. So come and see me if you're having any problems like that, personal problems, illness, family illness, that kind of stuff, and I'll help you sort that out. Just don't not turn up, you know, without, you know, sorting it out properly first, because you'll be deregistered from the course, you might lose the fees you paid. It's a nightmare. Just don't go there. Right. So the course is taught mainly through MyLearning, the kind of course website. So everything you need is on there. It's got the description of the coursework, it's got the software that you need, it's got the link to recorded lectures, lecture slides, lab handouts, example code, and other resources like links to tutorials online, this kind of stuff. So you must be able to access this, or you're not going to be able to study the course. So do let me know if you have any problems accessing these resources. So this is, I think, possibly the wrong course, but anyway, it shows you what it looks like. So it's got like week 1, week 2, week 3, and the top there'll be like coursework 1, coursework 2, coursework 3 as well. So get online, have a look at that, because that is the course essentially. Okay, you must get to grips with this. Now, more generally, I can make resources available in other formats. So there's a coursework description, which is like a long, which I'll come to in a little bit, but it's written obviously, using the standard font and whatever. But if you've got issues with dyslexia, for example, I'm more than happy to provide you the coursework description in open dyslexic fonts. If you've got some issues with visual impairment and the color combinations aren't good for you, then I can work with developing resources in different colors, and so on and so forth. I'm more than happy to accommodate any specific requirements you have, but if I don't know about them, I can't accommodate you, right? So please come and see me if you've got special requirements. I'm more than happy to help. So there's a reading list on the course website. I think there's a couple of books I think are good and worth reading, but most, sort of, in the modern age, do we really need like these enormous thick books full of stuff? I don't know. But this book's good. This book's good. So I like these head first books because they're kind of fun to read, but they've got good solid technical content as well, and they're nicely laid out, and it explains stuff well. So the course book I've chosen for this course is called Head First HTML5 Programming. Excuse me, and it doesn't cover everything because the course is way too broad for it to cover everything, but it covers some of the core stuff you're going to find useful in the first term and maybe a bit of stuff for the second term. So that's HTML5 programming here, and then it's also Head First JavaScript Programming. It's the same series, just a different book, but if you want to get solidly under the skin of JavaScript, which you're going to need to really to get a good mark in this course, then Head First JavaScript Programming is very good as well. I've also given you some other books that may or may not be useful. They're all available in the library. One thing to be aware of, so with most course books, most of the books I'm going to mention during these lectures, you can read an electronic version of that book online, which makes it very easy, right? You can do all the lab exercises in the labs, and you've got the book there available on your computer. But be aware that some of these head-first books or other library books come in two versions. One's easy to read online, the other's only a preview. So if you follow the link on the reading list, you'll get to the correct version. But if you end up on a preview, then you might have to go back to the reading list to get the correct link. If you follow the link from the course from the Middlesex Library Catalogue, there might be two electronic versions, one of which is only a preview. Just be aware of that. So, software for this course. Because of the complexity of this, we've got all the various the labs, and we've got the problem of storing stuff in databases, never mind the server, and all the rest of it. So software is a little bit tricky, never mind the fact that half students have laptops, right? So how I've decided to do this is I provide portable versions of most of the software that you need, and that's all available on the course website. So if you're just using the lab machines, you can use the portable software I provide, and then you'll be okay. The best way to use this software is unzip it and copy it on a USB stick, and then you can use the software in the labs and at home. You can just take that USB stick, plug it into your laptop, plug it into the lab machine, plug it into wherever, and the software will run locally from that USB stick. If you take that approach, which is probably the recommended approach, back it up regularly. So it is never an excuse on this course for you that's, oh dear, I'm sorry I didn't hand in my coursework, I lost my USB stick, okay? Because your USB stick should be backed up extremely regularly, at the very least, every couple of hours while you're doing proper work, okay? Because USB sticks fail, they're very, very easy to lose. So it's never an excuse that you've lost your USB stick. If you lose all of your coursework on a USB stick, you lose all of the marks on this course, okay? So you must back it up regularly if you're using this approach. Your second year computer science students, most of you can back stuff up, right? Or all of the software that I'm sort of teaching on this course is you can download and install it for free. So if you've got a laptop, you'll be able to get Mac or PC versions available for free. And as the course progresses, I'll talk through the different components. You're going to need a text editor. I like Notepad++, but choose your own. There's an equivalent thing for the Mac. I quite like brackets for the HTML, CSS stuff. Less keen on it for JavaScript. NetBeans, I think, is probably the best IDE out there that I don't know it's about out there, but that it's available on the lab machines and it's pretty good. So NetBeans, you can do the whole course on NetBeans, and that's probably going to be your easiest choice. So as I said, this is your course, right? I'm here to teach you stuff. So please give me feedback about things you find difficult or parts of the course that don't work, okay? The course is not going to get better if you just sort of complain about it and don't tell me about it. You won't be penalized if you complain about it. I won't hold any hard feelings against you or anything like that. I will welcome feedback, even if I might not agree with it, but I certainly welcome it, and I won't challenge you, that you have that particular view about it. So last year, some people disliked the way in which the group coursework was marked, and then I took that on board and I fixed it, and people were much happier, for example. So please come and see me, either at the Q&A session, at a lab session, or send me an email, or make an appointment to come and see me. I'm welcome. Try to encourage an open atmosphere of communication, okay? So come and see me. Right, so this course has three pieces of coursework on it. We've got the game website worth 50%, the shopping website worth 30%, and a single-page web application worth 20%. You must get at least 40% to pass this module. And most people passed last year, okay? I think pass rate was like 90%. I've changed things a little bit from last year, but I still think if you put the work in, you can pass this course no problem. So the first piece of coursework is the game website, which is worth 50% of the mark. It's an individual project. You can help each other, but it's basically got to be your own work. And it's a website that enables the user to play a game. The users have accounts. The website displays the top scores of the users. Be implemented in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. So it has a project proposal stage where you say, well, I'm going to build it, explain what you're going to do. End of week 3. The front end of the website, end of week 6. And the final website with all the JavaScript functionality, end of week 11. There's a separate lecture on this, so I'm just giving you the overview here, okay? And in all of these lectures, where there's dates, because I'm planning to use these lectures for at least a couple of years, I haven't put the exact deadlines in, but the final deadline is, the actual deadlines are all in the coursework descriptions, which are available on the course website. Then we got the shopping website or e-commerce website worth 30% of the mark. So this is a group project, so your marks from your first piece of coursework will be used to allocate the groups at random for the second term. So it's the standard thing like Amazon, whatever. You can add products to a basket, check out. Staff can like administer the database using some other pages you're going to create. You're going to build it with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MongoDB. So at the end of week 16, you've got to do the project proposal, database design, and front end, and then the final website, the full functionality, end of week 23. And then we got coursework 3, a single-page web application. This is worth 20% of the mark. So this is a sort of more of a free-form individual project. So I've constrained the technology that you're going to use to develop this project, but what the website does is up to you, okay? You've got 2 prescribed websites. Let's, let the imagination run free or whatever, right? So you choose the functionality. It could be a social networking site, could be a recipe website, could be whatever. Must be a single HTML page, okay? More like Gmail and Facebook than like a standard shopping website. Implemented with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Node.js is a way of running JavaScript server-side, and some kind of database. I want you to learn about a different database, but I'm not going to prescribe what it is. So as long as it's not MongoDB, you can use any old database you like. And you can start on this project once you've submitted coursework 1. That's the idea. So there's a deadline for the project proposal for this thing, which is the end of week 20. But actually, if you want to get a good mark for this, you should really start working on it, over Christmas holidays. So when you finish coursework 1, you can crack on with coursework 3. That's the idea. And then the final website, early May. So maybe a couple of weeks after week 24 will be something like that. Okay, so to pass the module, you need to get 40% in the coursework. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP are easy to start with, but they rapidly become more complex, particularly JavaScript. Don't underestimate JavaScript, okay? JavaScript's quite a challenging language to get competent at. PHP's kind of easy to start with, but if you get fancy with PHP again, it can get difficult. But the one thing I will think about in this course is the JavaScript side. Both JavaScript and PHP can be fiddly to debug, okay? So if you want to, don't leave all this to the last minute, okay? First year I taught this course, people got hypnotized by the Java module, okay? And it was like Java, 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 and they left all this stuff to the last week. And a lot of students did really rubbish projects and got really bad marks, okay? So strongly recommend you watch all of the lectures, attend all the lab sessions, and do all the lab exercises. And you're going to need to spend your own time on the coursework each week, okay? You don't stand a chance of getting a good mark, never mind a pass mark, if you're not working on this in your own time. You have to manage your time and allocate, let's say 5 to 8 hours, including all the lectures and stuff, to this module each week. Well, you're not going to pass. So, first time I taught this, this is the trajectory that the failing students took, okay? If you want to fail this course, this is the way to go, okay? So in the first term, you focus on Java, maybe watch 1 or 2 lectures, but then get bored of them and do very little work on the course all year, okay, all term. And then a couple of days before the deadline, you say, hey-ho, I've got to finish coursework 1. Maybe I'm going to learn JavaScript from scratch in like half a day by watching a couple of videos. Obviously, that doesn't work. So you hand in a really lousy project and get 30% in coursework 1. A lot of people got 30% in coursework 1 in the first year. Then the second term, you're kind of busy with your friends, maybe playing a lot of football, who knows. But coursework 2 is a group project, but maybe this person here, this fictional student, relies on the other group members to do coursework 2. Again, the kind of people who got 30% in coursework 1 didn't do much for coursework 2. So coursework 2's got a marking system that rewards people for working harder. So if you don't work very hard on coursework 2, maybe you're going to get 50%. Okay, you can get 50% because there's better students in your group who are going to lift you up a little bit. So let's say 50%. And, because you have been so far behind with everything, you don't attempt coursework 3. So if you follow this kind of timeline, and plenty of people have done, you're going to get 30%, you're going to fail the course, and that means you're going to have to do work by yourself over the summer, or you're not going to make it through into the 3rd year, okay? And that work's going to be a lot harder for you to do by yourself without any support over the summer, okay? So I don't recommend this trajectory. Now, if you're going to pass the course, it's a reasonable aspiration. I'm not expecting everyone to be super mega motivated, right? but you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to work hard on coursework 1 such that you hand in something that gets at least 50%. And that means learning JavaScript, learning PHP, and learning HTML and CSS. Enough to produce a mediocre game in a sort of website that looks half decent, okay? So 50% there. And let's say term 2, you actually contribute to coursework 2. Maybe you don't contribute to attempt coursework 3, but let's say you get at least 50% in coursework 2. If you're contributing to it, you're probably going to get a bit more than 50%. This is like minimum passing here. So if you follow this trajectory, you can pass. Okay, you can get you 40%, and the difference really is whether you bother to do anything in the first term or not. You see, it's the same mark for the second term, but if you put a bit of effort into the first term, you'll find it easier to make a contribution here, and maybe you can get up to a 2-2 rather than just a third. If you want to get a first on this course, then you have to work hard on coursework 1, right? And you want to get coursework 1 in a little bit ahead of time. Maybe the end of week 10 is my recommendation. And then get at least 70% in coursework 1. As I explained, once you finish coursework 1, you can start on coursework 3. So in term 2, so you can start work on coursework 3 before Christmas. You can get your proposal in, and then we can give you feedback on your proposal in the last lab session, and then you can get started on coursework 3 over the Christmas holiday. In term 2, you can work hard on coursework 2 and make a significant contribution to the group work, and then continue to work on coursework 3 and get maybe 80% in coursework 2 because you're one of the main contributors, and then you can get at least 55% in coursework 3. Coursework 3 is kind of harder, more independent, so let's just say minimum marks here. So the minimum first here is 70%, and then you basically got to get like a 2-2 in coursework 3. You're getting a first in coursework 2 is not that hard, and 70% in coursework 1 is not that hard. So you can pass this course, and you can get a first on this course. If you follow this kind of linear approach. Obviously, you can get a bit more here and a bit less here, or it's up to you, right? But the key thing for getting a first is you've got to start thinking about coursework 3, by at least halfway through the first term. That's the important thing. So that you can submit coursework 1 a little bit early, give you time to start work on coursework 3, and then you can work at coursework 3 at the same time as you're helping your groups build coursework 2. Okay, so coursework 3 runs throughout the year, but you have to finish coursework 1 before you can start it. Okay, so this lecture has been an overview of the module, and the next lecture is going to introduce you to website design.